Imagine if all this time we've misunderstood our origins. That human evolution wasn't simply the result of adaptation, but of terror, of hunting, of a single ancient creature that forced us to change, to survive. A startling discovery in the Omo Valley, East Africa, uncovers a mystery buried for millions of years. Giant fossilized claws, spiral tracks, and expedition records lost since 1953 all point to one thing: a prehistoric creature that has been watching us since the dawn of civilization. What exactly is this creature? And what did it do to our ancestors? This story isn't just about the past. It's about a truth that's been hidden for so long. Read the full story until the end. And if you have your own theory about this creature, or you believe humans may have been hunted by another species in ancient times, leave your thoughts in the comment section now. The East African desert wind blew gently across the barren expanse of land. The sun burned fiercely across the savanna sky. Amidst the dry, cracked expanse, a young archaeologist named Darian stood silently. His face was wrinkled not from the heat, but from a sense of wonder he couldn't hide. A few minutes earlier, he had discovered something unusual. Not an ordinary fossil, not a stone tool, but a claw. Large, perfectly curved, more than 3 times the length of an adult human finger. "This doesn't belong to any animal we've ever found," he murmured softly. The find lay deep in a layer of soil estimated to be over 2 million years old. This location is known as the Omo Valley, a place rich in human history. But nothing like this had ever been discovered before. Darian's colleague, a senior paleontologist named Professor Mikhail, quickly approached. He squinted at the fossil, then without a word turned away. He immediately went to his tent, opened his laptop and began searching. After a few minutes of staring at the screen, Professor Mikhail finally said quietly, almost a whisper, "This fossil resembles a species that has never been widely publicized. It was discovered once, in 1953, and then simply disappeared." Darian stared at him, confused and uneasy. "What do you mean? Is this some kind of carnivore?" "More than that," Mikhail replied. "If my guess is correct, we haven't just found an animal. We've found a predator that once hunted ancient humans." In the distance, the drone camera they were using for mapping the area recorded something. The black and white image showed a large spiral pattern in the ground, a trace that could not have been left by a modern human or animal. That night, Darian couldn't sleep. He reread old journals, archaeological records from the mid-20th century, even personal memos from an expedition that never ended. They all mentioned one name, vague, incomplete, but always appearing under the same circumstances: the slaughter of a group of ancient humans for no apparent reason. And at every recorded location, there was the same sign: spiral. The next morning they dug deeper. Beneath layers of volcanic rock, bones were found. Human. Hundreds of fragments. Burned. Torn apart. Suddenly, the ground to the west of the site bulged slowly, as if something were moving beneath it. Darian stared at it, silent. He had no idea that what they had just awakened was no mere mystery, but something that had long been dormant. And now, it had awakened. 2 days after the discovery, the atmosphere in the expedition camp was tense. No one was talking much. The researchers, usually full of laughter and discussion, were now mostly silent, staring at the screens or checking their equipment with grim expressions. Darian sat in front of a monitor displaying drone imagery. He zoomed in on the spiral tracks captured yesterday. As he rewound the footage quickly, he realized something unnerving. The spiral pattern wasn't just tracks. It was a nest, or rather a hunting ground. Professor Mikhail approached him, carrying an old metal box. "I found this among the old equipment left in the Nairobi Museum's warehouse," he said quietly. "They used to keep this as evidence, but never officially released it. Too strange. Too dangerous, they said." Darian opened the box slowly. Inside was a tooth. But no ordinary tooth. It was flattened at the tip like a stone axe. Large, sharp, and still gleaming despite being thousands of years old. It was too big for a wolf. Too flat for a crocodile. But definitely not man-made. Is this from that creature? Darian whispered. Mikhail nodded. In the 1953 records, this creature was called Sarna, an ancient name from an extinct tribal language. It means one who hunts in the dark. Meanwhile, a research team sent to the western area of the spiral didn't return. Their communication devices emitted only static. A small squad was sent to search. But all they found was a torn tent, with deep scratch marks in the ground. Circular scratches. Spirals again. That night, Darian's tent felt cold even though the air outside was quite warm. He slowly unzipped it and stepped outside. In the distance, the glint of yellow eyes stared out from the darkness. 3 pairs of eyes. Unmoving. Darian backed away slowly. But as he turned, he saw something standing upright behind him. The silhouette was tall. The back was arched. Long arms hung down almost to the knees. Its skin was dark, rough like burnt stone. And on the creature's chest was carved a spiral pattern. The creature didn't attack, just stared. Then it disappeared into the darkness. Darian fell silent. His breath hitched. He knew. Whatever it wasn't just a predator. It wasn't just killing. It was observing, assessing, and perhaps waiting for something. The next day, large footprints appeared around the camp, not leading out, but surrounding the tent, over and over again. That morning, the sky over the Omo Valley was gray, even though the sun was already high. Mist slowly descended, obscuring most of the view. The camp fell silent. Several team members began to show signs of stress. One of them, a zoologist, spoke incoherently as he wrote spiral symbols all over the tent wall. Professor Mikhail stood in front of a DNA analysis board that had just been processed. His old hands trembled as he read the results. "This is no ordinary animal," he said almost silently. "Its genetic structure bears similarities to humans. But there's something older, more ancient than Homo habilis, even Australopithecus." Darian approached, examining the data himself. There were strange genetic sequences, like traces of manipulation, but not man-made. These creatures had somehow lived alongside, or hunted early humans. And not just one. They had groups. They had evolved. Mikhail continued. What we call human evolution may not be simply adaptation to nature, but the result of artificial selection. Selection by these creatures. They didn't just hunt. They selected. Darian suddenly remembered the migration patterns of early humans. Evolutionary leaps that couldn't be explained by ordinary logic. The sudden appearance of larger brains, stronger body structures, the ability to speak. All in a very short time. They forced humans to change. To survive them, Darian said softly. A loud noise suddenly rang out from the western hill. A team member ran in terror, his body covered in blood. Behind him the fog moved quickly, not blown by the wind, but as if pulled by something. It advanced, swallowing the trees. Darian and Mikhail hurried to gather what data they could. They knew time was short. There wasn't time to uncover everything. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a legend. This was reality. And the creature was still alive. On their last night at camp, Darian sat on the hill, watching the spiral trail that was now growing larger. The dim moonlight revealed the shadow of something moving in the distance. Not one, but many. They were no longer hiding. In a low voice, Darian turned on his recorder. He knew this data might never reach the outside world. But if anyone found it later, they would know that humans from the beginning were not a free-evolving species. We are the product of fear. Fear of something older, more powerful, and darker than any history we have ever known. And that creature is back.